just
Okay.
to reiterate, if you have any questions as I'm going over this stuff, please ask them in the chat, or you can just unmute yourself and ask them out loud. Uh, and we'll go ahead and get started. So this next section that we're going to be working on right now is the networking section. So if you remember yesterday, we did some networking stuff with Irvin. Hopefully you were able to get through that material and you remember some of the stuff that we did yesterday. Today we're going to do some interesting things with Python. So this very first section that we open is going to be the port scanning section, and that's just going to build on some of the stuff that we just learned how to do with Caitlin. So we're going to start out and open up a text editor file. I like Sublime. That's what I'm using right now, but any text editor will work. People love to get in debates and sometimes like full-on brawls over text editors, but my philosophy is just use what works best for you. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to open up a fresh new text editor file right here. Can everybody see my screen okay? Great. Okay, so open up a new text editor file and we're gonna write a banner grabbing script. So first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna take this code that Sam has provided us with here, and we're gonna put that into a text file. So as you see, everything goes in here, but you know, one thing that's cool about Sublime is that it has all kinds of nice little bindings that actually color my text for me, but that's not actually working right now. The reason is because I have not yet saved this file as a Python file. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's call this first, let's go ahead and save this and call this first file grab.py. Well, I already have one called that, so I'm just gonna call mine grab0.py. I'm going to go ahead and save that. And as you see, my text editor window changes a little bit. So let's go ahead and let's try to run this and see what happens. And actually, before we do that, let's just do a quick walkthrough of what's happening on the code here. Sam's helpfully provided some notes here as to what's going on. You know, first thing we're doing is we're importing that socket library, which you already had to do in one of the previous exercises. And then we're connecting to a server. So let's go ahead and run that and see what happens. So we run it, and as you can see here, it shows us what is running on Sam's server on the back end as far as SSH goes. So that actually worked well. So go ahead, try that, run it, make sure that it ran okay for you. It looks like there's some comments in the chat. Let me just check that real quick. Okay, just text editor discussion, cool. Okay, so moving on. So our first script worked pretty well. Now we're gonna make something that doesn't work intentionally. So let's go ahead and start up a new file, and let's grab this code right here and put it in a new file. Let's go ahead and save this. And let's save this as okay. So let's go ahead and run it. See what happens. So we run it and we get an error message. That's fine. That's intentional. So don't freak out if you run it and it doesn't work right, because that's what we want. We want you to see, okay, we've got an error here that says no node name or server name provided, or it's not known. Now, if we look at if we go back and look at the script and you see on the 5th line here, we are trying to connect to nowhere.samsclass.info, and that's why we get that error message. So let's go ahead and change that. Let's try changing that to ad.samsclass.info instead of nowhere.samsclass.info and see what happens. And then let's go ahead and try changing this port number here from 22 to 80 to connect to the web server. And let's go ahead and run that and see what happens. So if you noticed before, when we ran some of the code in the last section, it would just hang when we tried to run. That happens again, and that's okay. We want that to happen. That's intentional. So let's go ahead and do Control-C, and we'll quit it so that it doesn't just keep running and running. So make sure you Control-C out of that after you've tried to run it. So how can we fix this? Let's go ahead and add a Set Timeout function here. So we're going to go down to this line here, and we're going to add in where I'm taking this from is in the example right here on the 3rd line. So what we're going to do is we're going to take that and we're going to do a Set Timeout, and then we're going to pass that a value of 2, and we'll run it. Go ahead and run that. See, so this time you didn't have to Control-C out of it. Because we added that in, it timed out on its own after 2 seconds. Okay, so let's make some more changes to the script. Now you can, I'm just changing it in the script that I'm working on already, but you know, it is another way you can do this is to save it in a new script each successive time. Okay, so let's edit our script some more and see what we can do here. This time, let's add in a variable for our port number. So we're gonna go ahead and set up a variable here. And we're gonna do port equals int, which is the data type. And then we're gonna put in input. And then we're gonna add in now it's in quotes like this because that's gonna print out in the console so that you can see it. And then, oops. I'm not using my regular keyboard, so I'm a little slow today. So there we go. So we've added in a port number variable right now. Let's go ahead and see what happens there. Oh, and then we're gonna take out, the other thing we're gonna do is since we hard coded our port earlier, we're gonna take that out and then call that variable here. And make sure you save it after you've made the changes. Go over here, let's run it and see what happens. See, now it asks us to put in a port number. So let's enter a port number. Let's enter 22 and press enter. Now, it works for us, great. It connects and shows us the banner running on port 22 on Sam's server, so that's great. Now, let's try it again and run it and pass it a different port number. I'm gonna ask us again, and let's type in port 80 and hit enter and see what happens. Good, so it timed out this time. It's supposed to do that. Okay, so let's move on to finding the first flag. So I'm gonna walk through this one with you. I am going to try to go through these series kind of quickly because we're going to work on this stuff up until lunchtime. Then we'll take a lunch break, and then we're going to work on some different things after that. So I may or may not, we'll see how far we get through some of these. So I'm just going to do the walkthroughs. You know, if you really are committed to working through it on your own and you don't want to see any flags, maybe look away or or mute me during this part. But I think this will be helpful to some folks. So let's go ahead and try and figure this one out together. So we're going to try to look for a banner, sort of like the exercise that we worked on yesterday, that has a specific message. Let's go ahead and start looking here. So we don't know what port number it's on, so we're gonna actually have to make some changes here to make sure, make changes to our script to make sure that we can find it. And actually, I need to take a break for just a second. Can Caitlin or Sam, can one of you take over for 5 minutes? And I'll be right back.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Go
Go save your dogs from the intruders. So for people who don't know, Liz is secretly a superhero. And so when there's a crime in the neighborhood, she has to leave and put on her superhero outfit and save everyone. So I will share my screen since I already have Python going. There we go. Let's continue where Liz was. We're doing port scanning. There we go. So let's do one of the port scanning examples together. VP 200.1, find a service. So there's another service listening on 80.samclass.info on a port ending in 00. That is one of these, 1000, 2000, 3000, etc. The service you want has a banner starting with congratulations, you found the hidden. And hunt it until you find it. Starts with congratulations below. The port number is the flag with the under the green rectangle. So let's do this. So let's start with the code that Sam graciously pasted for us above. We're going to then copy that and paste it into a Python file. We're going to exit out of here. Nanoscanner.py. And there we go. So what Liz mentioned was she set a timeout, which is good because we want it to try to connect, and if it doesn't connect, immediately time out. So after we create, so we're going to move this down. We're going to say s.set timeout. Let's do 1 second to make it quick because we're doing a port scanning. If it doesn't connect after 1 second, we want it to go on to the next. Let me double check to make sure. Yeah, set timeout. Okay, that's the correct. Oh, Liz, are you back? Do you want to continue from here? Liz, you're muted.
I am back. Yeah, let me, how far did you get?
Oh, I was just starting.
Sorry.
I was just starting 200.1 and I just put in the set timeout.
Oh, awesome.
So
awesome.
yeah, please continue.
Give me just a second here to get myself recombobulated here. 1 second.
Caitlin, have you ever had your mouse stop working in Cali?
My mouse stopped working in Cali. That is new. My mouse has some USB issues and it just stops working wherever.
But it's doing weird where it's working on half of the stuff. Like in the browser, it's working on some tabs, but not others. And it's like I can move around, I can use my keyboard and I can type, but it won't let me click on anything.
That's obnoxious. That's really rude.
Sometimes the USB pass-through can be really janky on virtualization. I'm assuming you're running that on your host machine.
Yeah, but this is new. I've never had this happen before, and they're telling me to run some mod probe command, but it's not working. And when I did a man on it, I can't see it because it won't let me scroll up. When I did
I've seen this a
like,
lot. Are you running virtual machines on Windows?
yes.
Yeah, that's why I moved to the cloud, because there are so many problems with virtual machines on Windows. Sometimes
I've never had this issue. It's
yeah,
like
a lot of my students have this. It depends on your hardware, and not all the hardware makes it successfully into the virtual machine.
yeah, it was working, and then I clicked on some stuff, and it just like froze. And then when it came back halfway. So
Yeah,
I'll try
restarting everything and reinstalling help, but the real solution is to just move to the cloud.
Yeah, this is my everyday machine though, so yeah, it's not gonna work. Thank you.
Sorry, I'm having some issues here.
So why don't I continue with the example then while Liz
Yeah.
figures out. I'll do 200.1.
Okay. Yeah.
And then,
I'll just go
yeah,
back.
and then you can continue from there once you're done. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a loop of trying out different ports. So first we have to do what Liz did, in which she connects to ad.sampleclass.info. And what we're going to also do is put the socket number in a variable. Sock num equals, let's see, it ends in 100 or 1000. 1000. Okay. So we're going to say the sock num equals 1000. And we're going to create I'm going to do this a little weird. I'm going to say keep going. We're going to make a keep going variable equal to true. Okay, so that means that and I'm going to make a loop here, say while, while keep going. And we're going to keep doing this over and over again. We have to indent everything twice because, like I mentioned in the introduction to Python, Python needs these indents so much. If you mess up any indent, Python has no idea what to do. There we go. I think that's about right. Right out. And so what we'll do is we're going to do one loop, and we're going to do one loop, and then say keep going equals false. There we go. And then we'll have a sock num here. And let's run this one to make sure this works. ls Python 3 scanner.py. It said timed out. Okay, perfect. So we're going to print the error, and we're going to say, just so we know what's going on, we're going to print the sock num just so we know what socket we're on. And then if we connect successfully, we're going to set keep going equals to false. And we're going to increase sock num every iteration. So sock num equals sock num plus 1000. There we go. So what's going to happen is that we have this loop that has a socket number to connect to. It's going to keep trying to connect to that socket number every loop, and if it connects, we'll print we got it, and we'll print the socket number. But if we don't have it, we'll just print the socket number so we know what we're at. Furthermore, let's see if there's any more restrictions. I don't know if we have an upper limit. We can always control C if we get too high and we think that it's not working. So we'll write it and we'll run it and see what happens. Inconsistent uses of space. This is what, remember I was talking about if your coworker is using spaces and you're using tabs, you can get into a lot of issues. This is what I was talking about. So line 14. Oh, because there's some spaces here. Now we have to correct all of these tabs. That should work. There we go. We're gonna write it. All right, so we tried port 1000. Aha, there we go. So we tried port 1000, 2000, and then on port 3000, we found the hidden port. We connected and we ended the loop. In principle, this could go on for, so yeah, in principle, we could go on for a very long time. Liz, are you ready? You're still on mute.
Yes,
Okay.
I am.
Okay.
I'm actually gonna go ahead just because we're kind of short on time. The rest of the problems in this section really go along the same sort of principles. So, you know, I'm gonna let you try and solve those. If you do have problems, contact us and we'll go back. I can go back over them later on and stuff. I think we'll probably have some time at the end of the day too to go on some things. So I'm gonna move on to the next section right now. I'm gonna do the, we're gonna move on to, oh, let me share my screen. That would help, wouldn't it?
You know, might be better to just put off the next section till after lunch, because I think people are still doing the earlier challenges.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sure. Absolutely. You know, and we have so much material that,
We're not going to reach it all, but
yeah.
I think with the 110 and the 200, a lot of people are still doing that stuff. So
Okay.
let's let them catch up.
Yeah, I don't want to go too fast on that. And maybe too, it would be good to kind of make sure that everybody gets caught up to the same or similar-ish levels before I go on to the next section. Let's see. Let's try it this way. Let's try this. Type a 1 in the chat if I missed the code. Can you send it, please? Which code did you miss? I'm sorry. I just got a DM, but I'm not really sure which code you missed.
I think the student means the code that I had on my screen. Why don't I share my screen really quickly so they can look at it again?
Absolutely.
There we go.
Yeah, that's a good example. And I think I'm going to stop the recording here and post it so people can refer to it. And I think